Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today we're going to discuss the new book I wrote with Jana Sweeney. Depicting Space, When Language Lives in the Hands. Today we celebrate. A new book has entered the world. Depicting Space, Advanced Classifier Morphology and Spatial Grammar in American Sign Language, co-authored with Jana Sweeney, is now available. This is the second volume in our ASL Linguistics for Practitioners series, following arm angles in American Sign Language. But this episode isn't a sales pitch. I want to talk about what this book represents, what it costs to make, and why the ideas inside it matter far beyond the interpreting classroom. Let me start with a confession. Classifiers are hard. Not hard in the way vocabulary is hard, where you simply need more exposure, more repetition, more time. Classifiers are hard because they require signers to think spatially while signing temporally, to track multiple referents while producing new content, to select among productive options while maintaining discourse coherence. That mouthful of a sentence appears in the opening of Depicting Space, and I want to unpack it for you, because hidden inside that description is something important about human cognition. When you speak English, your words unfold in time, one after another, linear, sequential. The sentence has a beginning, a middle, and end. You cannot say two words simultaneously. The channel is narrow. But when you sign ASL, something different happens. Your hands can represent two entities at once. Your face carries grammatical information independent of your hands. Your body can shift to become a character, while your hands continue to manipulate objects in observer space. The channel is wide. Parallel processing becomes possible. And classifiers sit at the heart of this parallel capacity. They are not frozen lexical items you retrieve from memory. They are productive morphological systems. You build them in real time. You select a hand shape that represents a category of object. You place it in space to establish a referent. You move it along a path to encode an event. You modify its manner to convey aspect and intensity. This is not translation from English. This is thinking in a fundamentally different architecture. Now you might ask, why write a textbook about this? Don't interpreters already learn classifiers? Don't deaf children acquire them naturally? They do. But there's a difference between implicit knowledge and explicit understanding. Native signers know how to use classifiers. They don't necessarily know how to explain why one choice works and another doesn't. They don't have vocabulary for the distinctions they make intuitively. And interpreters, even certified ones, often struggle. They produce classifiers that are technically grammatical, but pragmatically awkward. They default to safe, simple forms when the source material demands complexity. They lose spatial coherence across long passages because they never learn to manage loci systematically. Depicting Space addresses this gap. It provides a framework, a terminology, a way of talking about spatial grammar that makes the implicit explicit. Not to replace intuition, but to supplement it. To give practitioners tools for analysis, for error correction, for deliberate improvement. This is what the series subtitle means: Linguistics for Practitioners. We are not writing for linguists who want to describe ASL. We are writing for signers who want to deploy it with precision. Let me walk you through what the book contains. Part 1 establishes theoretical foundations. we move beyond the basic taxonomy of entity classifiers, handling classifiers, body part classifiers, and size and shape specifiers. We examine why classifier selection is cognitively demanding, what makes it different from lexical retrieval, how the visual spatial modality shapes what's possible. Part 2 addresses spatial anchoring. This is where interpreters most often fail. They establish a locus, then lose it. They place reference without considering sightlines. They let spatial coherence degrade across extended discourse. We provide systematic techniques for establishing loci, maintaining them, and managing the cognitive load of spatial tracking. Part 3 goes deep into the classifier types themselves. 7 chapters examining entity classifiers, handling classifiers, body part classifiers, size and shape specifiers, and the movement morphology that animates them all. We discuss perspective and viewpoint, the difference between observer and character constructions, the grammatical resources for shifting between them. Part 4 takes everything into professional contexts. Legal interpreting, where spatial precision can determine whether testimony is understood correctly. Medical interpreting, where anatomical descriptions require exact three-dimensional representation. Technical interpreting, where abstract processes must be made visually coherent. Part 5 synthesizes practice frameworks, assessment rubrics, self-correction protocols, sample syllabi for instructors who want to teach this material. And 6 appendices provide reference tools, a notation system for transcribing spatial constructions, exercises organized by chapter, a glossary, an annotated bibliography, sample syllabi. This is a substantial book, 17 chapters, over 60,000 words. 2 years of collaborative work between Jana's 3 decades of teaching ASL and my experience translating specialized knowledge into teachable form. The book carries a dedication to everyone who loves the language that lives in the hands. That phrasing was deliberate. An earlier draft said, "the language promised to the eye." But that excluded something important. ASL is not only received visually, deaf-blind signers receive it tactilely, through hand-over-hand contact, through the pro-tactile methods developed by Jellica Nuccio, A.J. Granda, and others. A book about depicting space that assumes space is always visual is incomplete. We acknowledge this in our terminology note. We could not address tactile spatial conventions adequately in this volume, but we refuse to write as if they didn't exist. The language lives in the hands. It is produced by hands, yes, but also received by hands when vision is not available. The hands are the constant. The modality of reception varies. I want to step back and say something about what it means to produce a book like this. Publishing is not glamorous. It is work. Revision after revision. Technical review by linguists who catch errors in your terminology. Copy editing passes that find the ideas you missed. The inconsistent header capitalization. The notation that breaks across pages awkwardly. And then the production. Formatting for ebook, formatting for paperback, cover design that signals academic seriousness without becoming visually sterile. Metadata and keywords and category selection and pricing strategy. Every book is a small miracle of coordination, especially when the subject matter is specialized, when the audience is narrow, when commercial publishers have no interest because the market is too small. This is why David Bowles Books exists, to publish what matters regardless of market size, to keep specialized knowledge in print, to serve communities that mainstream publishing ignores. Depicting Space joins Arm Angles as the second volume in a series we intend to continue. There is more to say about ASL linguistics. More frameworks to build. More gaps between research and practice to bridge. If you teach ASL, if you train interpreters, if you are an interpreter seeking to improve, if you are a deaf person who wants language to describe what you already know intuitively, this book is for you. It is available now through Amazon in both ebook and paperback formats. The ebook is priced to match Arm Angles at $14.99 because we believe series pricing should be consistent and accessible. But more than buying the book, I invite you to engage with the ideas. Push back where you disagree. Test the frameworks against your experience. Tell us what we got wrong, what we missed, what deserves expansion in future work. Books are not monuments. They are contributions to ongoing conversations. Depicting Space is our contribution. Now it belongs to the conversation. That's our episode. A celebration, yes, but also an invitation to think about what language is, what it can be, how the visual spatial modality opens possibilities that speech cannot access. The human condition includes the capacity for language. But language is not one thing. It is many things, shaped by the bodies that produce it and the channels through which it travels. ASL is not English on the hands. It is its own architecture. And classifier predicates are where that architecture becomes most visible, most complex, most beautiful. You can always get more information on the textbook at bowlesbooks.com, and there's even a free PDF for you to download, so you can decide before you buy. Thanks for listening. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a great evening and a wonderful tomorrow. Be a human meme.